They told.
I had to. They knew we were lying.
Car is still there. The purse is still...
Okay. And you're out there now?
I'm heading out there now.
In today's episode, we dive into our first case, where 6 young friends are involved in a horrific murder. We'll reveal how they committed this brutal crime, step by step, and uncover the chilling details of what happened next. We'll also witness the harrowing location where a missing woman was found and the shocking developments that emerged years later. Brace yourselves. We're stepping into the crime scene now. We're on our way to Bellevue, Florida, a charming town of 3,000 people. Here, Seth Tyler Jackson was born on February 3, 1996, the youngest of 3 boys born of Sonia and Scott Jackson. Seth had big dreams of one day becoming a UFC fighter. Back on April 17, 2011, a regular Sunday for 15-year-old Seth took a surprising turn. He had planned to spend the day gaming with friends when out of the blue, his ex-girlfriend Amber got in touch. Also 15, Amber Wright wanted to patch things up and rekindle their relationship, inviting him to a friend's trailer. Though tempted, Seth hesitated due to the heartache from their breakup, especially concerned about Amber's new boyfriend, 18-year-old Michael Bargo. Seth shared his worries, wary if it was a setup, but Amber assured him it wasn't. After some persistence from Amber, Seth said his goodbyes to his friend, promising a quick return before heading home. Seth and Amber's love story began a year prior, blossoming quickly and even winning over support from Seth's parents. They often found the two watching TV shows together or playing basketball in the backyard, even though they noticed some concerning behaviors. However, their relationship hit a rough patch involving alcohol, marijuana, and jealousy. By the end of March 2011, Amber abruptly ended things with Seth. Both took to Facebook to announce their single status, leading to a heated exchange of insults and hurtful comments. Rumors circulated through friends that Amber was cheating on Seth with Michael, which sparked an influx of negative remarks. Seth even accused Amber of meth use in a post, prompting his friends to support him, leading to a clash of accusations. In response, Amber posted that she never truly loved Seth, claiming she did him a favor for a year and never wanted to hear his name again. Michael Bargo was the guy Amber was rumored to have cheated with, intensifying Seth's feelings of jealousy, pain, and inner turmoil. Michael had a tumultuous upbringing, surrounded by violence and chaos, raised by an abusive mother and an alcoholic father. Our story revolves around Amber, who was dating Michael but had secret intentions to harm Seth. Seth, heartbroken over losing Amber, started antagonizing Michael on Facebook and even threatened to burn down Amber's house. The conflict that started online soon spilled into reality. When Seth found out that Amber and Michael were going to a party, he and his friends decided to crash it and confront them. In front of everyone, Seth physically attacked Michael, damaging his ego and fueling a desire for payback. In response, Michael and Amber hatched a scheme. They tricked Seth into thinking he could reconcile with Amber and led him to a trailer entrance where Charlie, the owner, was waiting. As Seth entered, he was ambushed by Justin Soto, Michael Bargo, and Kyle Hooper, who beat him with an axe handle multiple times. After a break in the assault, Amber asked for everyone else to leave so she could speak alone with Seth. Kyle hesitated, but Michael persisted, reminding everyone of Seth's betrayal in pursuing Amber and disrespecting his sister online. Kyle and Justin resumed their attack. Despite Seth's efforts to stand and escape, Michael shot him from behind. Dragged back inside, Seth suffered severe injuries as they carried him to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Amber and Charlie cleaned up the bloodstains. When it was time to deal with the defenseless Seth, Michael exploded in screams, curses, and physical blows, ultimately delivering the fatal blow. He used a baseball bat to break Seth's knees, tied up his body, and removed his teeth with pliers. The group disposed of Seth's body in a fire pit at the back of the house, exchanging words by the flames before placing his remains in tin cans and burying them in a nearby lime pit. Involved in this gruesome act was 37-year-old James Haven, Amber and Kyle's stepfather. Despite the age gap, he had been socializing with these young individuals and was complicit in planning the murder. On the evening of April 17th, Seth didn't return home or reach out, leaving his mother, Sonia, extremely concerned. The next day, she reported him missing to the authorities, and word of Seth's disappearance quickly circulated. Kyle Hooper and his mother, Tracy, got wind of the news about Seth, and that's when things began to unravel. Kyle eventually confessed to witnessing the crime, leading Tracy to inform the police that her son was somehow involved. Little did she know, both her children, Amber and Kyle, were actually implicated in SeathJackson's murder and wouldn't be returning home. Kyle was the first to admit, confessing to hitting Seth with a wooden stick. He falsely claimed to have instructed Seth to run, only to witness Michael shooting Seth upon his return to the house. Amber, alongside Charlie and Justin Soto, was taken into custody. During Amber's interrogation, she disclosed how they lured Seth into the trailer, where they waited for Kyle to burst in and attack Seth. After the chaos, they hid in Charlie's room for the night, waking up to the scent of bleach the following morning. Charlie's recollection of events aligned with Amber's testimony. Each suspect tried to shift blame onto Michael for the murder. The police hatched a plan, leaving Kyle, Charlie, and Amber alone in the interrogation room while secretly recording their conversation.
I had to. They knew we were lying.
Like, no, I've been in my room.
That's what I told them.
And I'm like, me and Amber have been in the room. We didn't see blood. We didn't see anything.
Their candid discussion about their roles in Seth's demise essentially sealed their fate. Michael was eventually located and apprehended at a friend's house 130 kilometers away. Thanks to Kyle's confession, all 6 suspects were arrested and charged with complicity in the murder. Amber, Charlie, Kyle, and Justin were convicted of first-degree murder and handed life sentences without the possibility of parole. Despite Michael's insistence on his innocence, he was convicted and became the youngest person on death row in Florida. His defense argued mental illness, but he still received the sentence. Charlie Ely served 9 years, accepted a lesser charge, and was released in 2020. James Havens, the stepfather of Amber and Kyle, received a 10-year sentence for aiding the youths in disposing of the body. Before we dive into our next story, if you could take a moment to hit that like button, it would mean the world to us. A single click for you is a huge boost of encouragement for us. Our next story takes us to Fairfield, Indiana, USA. Katelyn Markham, born on August 16, 1990, in Hamilton County, Ohio, was a young woman who had a real passion for graphic arts. Described as cheerful and friendly, Katelyn always aimed to spread happiness among those around her. In 2010, she got engaged to John Carter, her boyfriend of 6 years. Their plan was to finish their studies and move to Colorado, but fate had different plans for them. On August 13, 2011, just 3 days before her 21st birthday, Katelyn suddenly became unreachable. Although her fiancé John had seen her last around midnight that day, he couldn't reach her the next day. Concerned, John contacted Katelyn's father, David Markham, who also hadn't heard from her. Worried, John called 911 for help.
My fiance is missing. I can't find her anywhere.
Where was she at midnight last night when you left?
She was at her house. She was going to bed. She wasn't going out to do anything, so she would have been in her bed. And I mean, I've been with her for 6 years. She's not deceiving, you know. She doesn't.
Okay, and you guys didn't have an argument or anything?
Not at all. Car is still there. The
Where
purse
at?
is still.
Okay, and you're out there now?
I'm heading out there now. I had been trying to get a hold of her, and I decided to go by her house and see if she was okay. And her car was still there, which is why I'm really freaking out.
When the police searched Katelyn's apartment, they found no signs of forced entry. Her purse and car keys were on her bed, and her beloved dog Murphy was locked in another room, which was unusual for her. Friends and family were perplexed as Katelyn's disappearance was out of character for her. She was on the brink of graduating from art school, engaged, and looking forward to a new life in Colorado. The investigation went on for 20 months with no leads, and the case was on the verge of going cold until April 7, 2013. A couple searching for metal in Franklin County stumbled upon human remains and alerted the authorities. The police discovered bones, including a skull and jawbones, at a dump site approximately 40 kilometers from Katelyn's residence. The deputies noticed distinct characteristics, such as protruding teeth, that led them to compare the remains to missing persons records. The first photo they found was of Katelyn Markham, confirming their worst fears. A local forensic anthropologist positively identified the remains as Katelyn's through dental records. 2 days later, detectives broke the devastating news to David Markham and the rest of the family. Katelyn's promising life met a tragic end far from her hometown, in a landfill, leaving numerous unanswered questions. 3 years after Katelyn's tragic passing, a mysterious donor stepped in and made a significant contribution to reopen the case. Thanks to this generous support, her father, David Markham, enlisted the help of private detective Ryan Green to take a fresh look at Katelyn's file. As Ryan immersed himself in the investigation, he was struck by the 911 call made by John Carter on the day Katelyn went missing.
Car is still there. The
Where
purse
at?
is still.
Okay, and you're out there now?
I'm heading out there now. I had been trying to get a hold of her, and I decided to go by her house and see if she was okay. And her car was still there.
John informed the operator that Katelyn's car and purse were at home, despite claiming he was not there at the time. This inconsistency raised suspicion for Ryan. How could John provide details about the missing items if he wasn't present? Additionally, John mentioned running errands before seeking help, an unusual choice for someone in distress. Why prioritize errands over seeking assistance for a missing loved one? During the call, John insisted there were no issues between him and Katelyn. However, Katelyn's close friend Michelle contradicted this, disclosing a recent disagreement between the couple. To delve further into the matter, the Markham family's lawyer collaborated with a firefighter and a medical professional to analyze the 911 call. While emergency calls typically involve urgent pleas for help, John's call seemed more like a mere update. The lawyer pointed out that during the call, John floated a theory suggesting that people at a nearby carnival could have been involved in Katelyn's disappearance.
The only thing that's not there is her cell phone, which is positive, but she's not answering it. So, and the Sacred Heart Festival is going on right up the street, and there's a lot of questionable people there, and it's just kind of...
However, with no solid evidence to back these claims, the accusations appeared far-fetched, veering attention away from the main objective of locating Katelyn. Years later, John underwent a voice stress analysis test, which reportedly raised concerns. He also underwent 2 polygraph tests, the results of which were not disclosed by authorities, as they deemed it premature to draw conclusions. Meanwhile, Detective Ryan meticulously scrutinized the area where Katelyn's remains were discovered, a location that had previously been used as an illegal dumping site. This find indicated that only locals would likely be familiar with this secluded spot. As Ryan delved deeper into the investigation, he carefully examined the proximity of the Carter family's property to the illegal dumping site. The short distance between their home and where the body was found made him suspicious that it was more than just a coincidence. At first, the police thought Katelyn's death happened in Ohio, and her body was later moved to Indiana. But armed with the facts, Ryan developed a theory involving an accomplice in transporting the body. He discovered that Brad Vaughn, a friend of John's, had been to Katelyn's apartment before and was with John on the day she disappeared. When Brad was questioned after Katelyn vanished, he said he left the apartment before John. Interestingly, Ryan learned that Brad had sold his beloved car in 2013 because of financial troubles, according to him, which prompted Ryan to follow this lead. Ryan managed to locate the 1997 model car Brad used to leave Katelyn's place that fateful night and arrange for a luminol test. The test revealed traces of blood in the car's trunk. However, this potential evidence was compromised because the car had been cleaned, most likely with detergents that could have degraded DNA and removed the blood evidence. Despite finding blood and other evidence, the authorities couldn't determine its origin, so the investigation continued. Brad and John remained under scrutiny during the active investigation. A significant breakthrough happened when Ryan obtained cell phone records from the night Katelyn disappeared, contradicting John's statements to the police. One inconsistency was a message John claimed he sent to his mother to reassure her that Katelyn was fine. However, phone records showed that no such message had been sent. Another anomaly was the absence of a 911 call from Carter's mother in the records. While these discrepancies might have been due to technical issues, they were not further looked into. Ryan then focused on a phone conversation John had on the day of the incident. According to John's friend Matt, during the call, John mentioned that his car was parked near his house the night Katelyn disappeared. Cell phone records indicated that just 38 seconds after ending the conversation with Matt, John called Katelyn's father, David, to ask about her whereabouts. This timeline raised suspicion because it seemed unlikely that John could park his car, enter his home, check the rooms, and contact the father all within 38 seconds. The short time frame suggested that John already knew Katelyn was not at home even before he entered, hinting at prior knowledge of her absence. Back in 2014, the town was rocked by a tragic event: the brutal murder of 15-year-old Chelsea Jones, who was fatally stabbed. Soon after an arrest was made following a tip-off, it reignited public interest in Katelyn's case. Speculations started swirling around a potential link between Chelsea and Katelyn's deaths, suggesting the presence of a serial killer in the area. Unfortunately, due to a lack of evidence, the suspect couldn't be held, halting progress in both investigations. Jump to July 23, 2019, when 23-year-old Ellie Wake vanished from Fairfield. Authorities sought public help, and a month later, Ellie's body was discovered, echoing Katelyn's case. Fortunately, Ellie's killer, identified as Michael Strauss, was apprehended and sentenced to 17 years in prison. Following Strauss's capture, David Markham took to social media to highlight similarities between the cases, casting doubt on Strauss's potential involvement in Katelyn's case. However, during a police briefing on August 28, 2019, officials declared no connection between the cases, once again halting progress in Katelyn's case. In 2020, authorities stumbled upon a possible path from Katelyn's residence to an illegal dump site, prompting a reopening of the case. A comparison of items from the Carter home with evidence from the crime scene uncovered professional-grade materials. By 2022, detectives interviewed 2 teenagers residing near Katelyn, recalling seeing 2 vehicles on the night she vanished, one of which belonged to John Carter, driving without lights. Vehicle records indicated that John's car was in the garage for approximately 5 hours on that evening. The case gained momentum in April 2022 through the interrogation of Jonathan Palmerton, a close associate of John Carter, who had provided conflicting information during interviews in 2012. In December 2022, a private investigator disclosed that shortly after Katelyn went missing, John had contacted him, discussing her in the past tense, hinting that he knew her fate. This revelation cast a spotlight on John as the primary suspect. On February 17, 2023, authorities searched John Carter's mother's residence, uncovering sketches and poems believed to be connected to Katelyn. Simultaneously, Jonathan Palmerton was arrested for perjury, redirecting focus onto John. John Carter was apprehended on March 22, 2023, in connection to the Katelyn Markham case, facing murder charges. Initially cooperative, John later requested legal representation, maintaining his innocence. He was released on a $1 million bond, getting prepared for a trial scheduled for June 2024, as the case against him solidifies. Before we conclude this video, please be aware that the video on the left may be disturbing. It is recommended for adult viewing only. On the right, you'll find a playlist of videos that have been highly appreciated by our viewers.